Get Pucked.
Welcome in to the Get Pucked podcast. I'm Dave, Vito, Matt up here, and gentlemen, it's the reverse. Whatever. Yeah, you know what it was. I'm not a professional, Matt. All right, I'm not a professional.
You'll practice. You'll get it.
Thank you for coming along. It's the playoffs finally here. As always, we'll get this out of the way. We'd invite you to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Get Pucked Podcast. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, and pretty much just find us. Just find us. You'll love us. Comment, debate with us. Some of us have some ridiculous takes. Just fight us, yeah. There you go. Now you got the pointing down. All right.
My takes are fantastic.
I didn't name names. I'm not the one who named any names. Well, we'll see. Because the playoffs have started. And we, as usual, as we did last year, we're going to have a fun little pool, and we're going to talk about and preview all of these matchups. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw this up on screen sometimes. You're going to see it there, all those beautiful little matchups. And we're going to predict them. So, gentlemen, let's get this underway. Let's get our first round matchups and predictions here. And there it is.
Shocker.
Very similar. Very similar. What do you guys see in this Boston Florida?
Yeah, I just want to jump fast and just say that at the time of recording, likely people have already noticed that games have already been played. We have the receipts to show that we chose our picks prior to the first games being played. So if anybody feels the need to call us out on that one, by all means, we'll share our little WhatsApp predictions that we sent over to Dave ahead of time. But to answer this one, I mean, I can't see how you bet against Boston. I mean, it somewhat pains me a little bit there, but I mean, they're the juggernaut of the season. I know you have the whole President's Trophy winning curse kind of thing happening, but I can't see it. You got a Florida team that barely squeaked into the playoffs. Underperformed all year. They're riding on Alex Leon, right? Is that how you say his last name? It's not Lion, is it?
It's still up for debate.
I mean, okay, so who knows what the hell's going on in goaltending there? I don't know, man. To me, I up to full disclosure, I haven't picked any team to sweep. I don't think there's going to be any sweeps in the first round, but this is as close as it's going to come. So yeah, I took Boston in 5 because I can't see Florida doing anything to them.
All you do is take my picks. all you do is take my picks.
Technically, I picked first.
I mean,
that's not true. So I picked Boston in 5, and I picked them first. Matt, we have proof of that. And
sure.
I mean, look at what Boston did all season. This team is the team to beat. Florida just barely got in, and they struggled all year, albeit at the beginning of the season there was a lot of injuries. But I don't want to say there's a goaltending controversy, but it kind of seems like it's heading that way. And the more talented goalie is Bobrovsky, and I think they should just put him in net and give them the best chance possible. Because, I mean, Alex Lyon did great. Lion, whatever. He did great, but at the same time, you're paying one goalie $10 million. Like, make him play, right? So you look at Marchand, you're looking at Krejci, Bergeron, albeit Bergeron is a game-time decision for Wednesday's game. And what Boston was able to do to get those guys in at such a reasonable cap just to compete for the playoffs, and the season that they had, it's just fantastic. Like, I know as Habs fans, we typically don't like Boston. We got to respect the team, and I just think they're gonna be the team to beat for the whole playoff run.
Man, I really wanted to pick the Panthers here. Like, I was very close to pick, just because, like, traditionally President's Trophy teams riding on too big of a high. They come into the playoffs and they get smacked. Florida gained a little bit of experience, albeit a very short experience last season, but they got a little bit of that playoff experience. And Boston, there was a bug going around in their room. People were game time decisions. Even Linus Ullmark was a game time decision. To me, it comes down to goaltending. I just don't think that's it. And I think Boston's just too strong overall down the depth chart. I mean, I really, really, really wanted to pick the Panthers, but I think, picking up Lindholm last year, picking up Orlov, picking up Bertuzzi, these are all like underrated, like under the radar moves. Like, I don't think people appreciate how good of moves those moves were. So there you go. That's why I got it. I think Florida will put up a little bit of a fight eventually down the line. That's why I picked them in 6. But at the end of the day, that's why we all got Boston. I don't think it's any surprise.
Florida's only got Matthew Tkachuk right now. It's really continuing and driving it out. Everybody else is on snooze mode, or I don't know what's going on with them, but they're not going to be able to.
You expected it kind of to pick up a little bit for the playoffs, their intensity. I thought maybe they could do it, but
I mean, it's only
Boston.
game 1.
Yeah,
game
I mean,
1.
it's possible.
We'll see.
For sure, it's possible. They kind of hung around for game 1, I guess. They didn't get blown out. I guess you could say that. All right, let's move on to the next matchup, which I think will be a little bit more interesting for us. And we have some separation in our picks here. So
this one hurt also, man. It hurts.
Man, look at that.
It hurts. I did this counter to sort of what my this was a head move, not a gut move, if you will. Most of my picks were sort of like mostly gut pick related, how I kind of felt at the time. And I was like, I think that this is how these teams kind of ended the season and they're going to ride the highs and stuff like this. I didn't really look detailed matchups per se when I made my picks. I just think Tampa is just not the Tampa that was last year, even definitely not the year before. I think Toronto, they got O'Reilly. He's playing. This guy's a gamer in the playoffs. I really like his style. I would have loved when there was an opportunity for the Habs to have gotten him a little while ago. I think there was potential there. I don't think necessarily he makes or breaks the game. I think he just makes the Leafs a lot harder to play against. Marner's, Matthews, Nylander. I mean, these guys, if they could just get it together, just stream together a little bit of what they're capable of doing, that they do all season long in playoffs. I can see the Leafs actually making it past the first round this year. It pains me to say it. I would love the streak to continue, but really the only question mark for me is goaltending there. Realistically, their defense is but it's the goaltending. Can it hold up? And I mean, against Vasilevsky, I don't like betting against Vasilevsky. I don't know what that extra little noise is there, what's going on there, but I can't. I think it's the year. I think it's the year. So,
it sounds like somebody's cleaning a mirror with some Windex.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's weird.
Matt, I got 2 words for you. With regards to the Maple Leafs and the perennial losers. All right, they're
only true until they're not, man.
Listen, all the names you mentioned are players they've had year in and year out for the last while, and they've always failed in the first round. And I think this Tampa Bay matchup is a bad matchup for them. And I just think that they're going to push, like Stamkos has said, that Toronto is a better team, and they still went to Game 7 last year. I just think that Tampa Bay is going to find a way to win because they have the experience, they know what they're doing, and talent for talent, they could match up. Or they're even better, actually, when you think of it from the goaltending and defense perspective. So I still gave Toronto going to the end and getting it to Game 7, but I'm giving the edge to the Tampa Bay Lightning to win this series.
Well, I'll tell you quickly. I took Toronto in 6 because if the series goes 7, they lose. This team does not do well in a clutch situation in Game 7. I mean, I don't know why. But I put them down in 6. If they can't get it done in 6, they're done. They are done. So, little caveat there. But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, interesting. I think this is Toronto's year, man. I really do. I think this team is built. It's built properly for once. I think that, you look at Vasilevsky and you say goaltending could be a difference. He was like top 6 or top 5 in goals saved above expected and all the advanced stats and stuff like that. But so was Samsonov. Samsonov was like 7 or 8 or something like that. Like, he's been phenomenal, especially at home. They just have their D core, I think, is really, really good. I think that, Tampa's D down the stretch, terrible. I mean, they were playing all sorts of sloppy hockey, and you could argue that Tampa in the regular season was just tired of regular season hockey. They just wanted to coast to the playoffs. But the same could be said for the Leafs too. And I think that Ryan O'Reilly is such a huge factor, just because not only does it provide 2 like monster lines, but if the worst case scenario, they could bump him down to the 3rd and have him change the entire aspect of that series and those matchups. And that's what makes things really, really interesting. I think they have the depth scoring to make it work. I think it's interesting, and I think ultimately, I think that the Leafs are going to pass the first round for the first time in a while. I really, really do think so. I think Tampa's time, they're kind of just, not that they're fading. I mean, look, they were still an excellent team. They're still an excellent. The names there are beasts as well. I just think that, like, man, if there's any time to exercise those demons for the Leafs, it's the opportunity is now, and I think that they'll take it.
I will say this. I'm still sticking to Tampa in 7, and for all the Leafs fans that will tune in and will hate me for it, you could always message me, say whatever you want, comment. It's okay. You can say what you need to say. Use the YouTube comments to come at me. I'm good. It's still Tampa. You guys still are gonna lose in the first round.
Wow. Shots fired. I
hope he's right. I hope he's right.
All right, the next matchup, also very similar. I don't think there's much debate going on here, although I think it's going to be a lot closer. It could be a lot closer than what you guys think.
I'm more curious why you think that. I thought of all the series that are out there, this is the one that was like the easiest. Out of all the ones I considered giving a sweep to, I considered it to be this one. And I ended up giving it 5 games because, you never know. I kind of figured every team's got that one game that they can do it. But safe.
I like Carolina. Don't get me wrong. I really think that. I just think no Svechnikov and Sorokin. Sorokin will be a game changer, man. The Islanders have a Vezina caliber goaltender back there, and he could just completely take over the series should he decide to. I think that Barzal coming back, slotting him with Horvat 1-2, that you could get away from that stall shutdown line. I thought that could be an opportunity. I never thought the Islanders could win, but I think that they'll put up quite a fight against Carolina. So that's why I think Carolina. I mean, I just picked 7 because I wanted to. I thought if there's any series I could see going long, it'd be this one.
Which is hilarious. I don't think opposite. So. I'm the complete opposite.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll see.
The Islanders basically fell into that playoff spot because the Penguins gave it to them, essentially. Yeah, all right, so I don't see it. Yes, you're right about Sorokin, but the Carolina Hurricanes, even without Svechnikov, they just volume of shots and their shot quality is there. It's just I think it's a bad matchup for the Islanders personally, and I just don't see the Islanders getting a win in this series. They may get a game where they're going to come close, might maybe push a game to overtime, maybe, but at the end of the day, the edge is going to go to the Carolina Hurricanes, and I think a lot of people are looking past the Carolina Hurricanes since they lost Svechnikov, but they still have some talented players.
So much firepower, man.
They've got a lot in their top 6 that are quite versatile, and I mean, Kotkaniemi is starting to find his game, and I just think Carolina is going to get past the Islanders, and I think this was a very good matchup for Carolina and a very bad one for the New York Islanders.
Man, so Matt, for you, that's I'm assuming these are 3 teams that you absolutely hate that are on this board right now.
I know. I went ahead and I decided I'm not going to go and pick against teams I dislike. I'm simply going to say who I think is going to win. And that's how I did it. I really hope I'm wrong. I hope we get upsets left and right. Not the Panthers, because ideally I want them out as fast as possible for the pick, but I'm making that pick more attractive for the Habs, be it that they keep it or trade it. The Leafs,
we got a couple of Florida fans. We got a couple of Florida fans that actually tune in, and they've been commenting. They expect the Florida Panthers to make it to the finals.
Well, why wouldn't they? It's their team. I mean, my hat's off to them. I wish them luck. It's just from a Canadiens perspective, as we like to always try to find a way to plug the Habs in here. It would be great for them to lose first. I would love for them to get swept. That would be the best scenario for the Canadiens. But I would love for Boston, the juggernaut, the best team ever in NHL history, right? All the most wins, the most points. I love for them to get not swept, obviously, because they lost. Florida lost that first game there, but yeah, if they can lose, that'd be hilarious. I would love for Toronto not to move past the first round again and forever. That would be great. And Carolina, I dislike the team. I mean, I admit they're a great team.
My God, are you just trying to get everybody to dislike this episode?
It's my opinion. It's my opinion.
All right, well, let's see what you have to say about these fans. All right, yeah. So in our next round matchup, battle of New York City, New Jersey. What do you? We have a quick change
this
here.
this was tough. This was tough. I really like New York. I really do. I like that team. I like the players on that team. It's incredibly difficult to bet against a team that has the likes of, Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, Zibanejad, Kreider. Go down the list. Yeah, you go Laugh, Kako. You got guys that are just, they're all over the place. This is a very deep team. Adam Fox, Trouba, Shesterkin. Just on and on. Name their whole team practically. This is a very, very good New York Rangers team. That said, there is something about the Devils this year.
Well, the something is that you could almost match up to the New York Rangers. You listed a bunch of players, but you could equally list as many players.
Just about.
You want to give the edge to Shesterkin in terms of elite goaltending? For sure, you give him the edge.
The edge.
But Vanacek had a very good season and has held his own.
Actually, the last 40 games of the year, that stat I said, goals saved above expected. Vanacek had a very terrific first half of the year. Second half, ranked 28th out of 32 starting goaltenders for that stat. All right. I think that he dropped off a lot in the second half of the season. We saw, and I just think New Jersey has a lot of games where they just don't show. Like, look at that game against the Habs, right? Where the Habs took him to school. I forget what month it was in, but there's a lot of those times where they just drop off. And if Jack Hughes doesn't produce, they do have the big names. Don't get me wrong. Jesper Bratt's having an insane season. You can name them all. But I think that the Rangers have a huge edge in goaltending. And again, New Jersey reeks of inexperienced playoff teams. And it's always beware to those inexperienced playoff teams, I say, especially when they're facing a team like the Rangers.
To that point,
I'm playing it the other way. Hold on a second. I'm playing it the other way. While you're right that you can also argue that inexperienced teams would have faltered, perhaps, I'm looking at it the other way. They're there. They're young. They're excited. They don't know what they're going up against. They look at the New York Rangers and they're like, the hell with what they got. All these star powers, these older name star powers. We're the young guys. We're the ones putting up Jack Hughes most points in the Devils history. Like, I just feel like they're riding that a little bit more younger swagger, which kind of.
But historically, when has that ever held? When has that ever held? Especially in the NHL. The NHL is always you have to have been their league, right? Like, when's the last time that a team came out of nowhere, rookie with a ton of young players and took off? It's very rare to see that in the NHL.
It's a rule until it ain't, right? It's a trend until it's not. I don't know. There's just something about it. This was a series I wanted to put 7 games also, but then I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to put it in 6 because of that exact reason. I think that for some reason, there's something about it. And again, I come back to the fact I actually like New York. And if New York wins this series, New York is one of my favorites to win the East. I really like that team. It is a very, very good team. But I feel like these kids are going to come in and they're going to walk up and they're going to be like, hey, Pops, this was your league 5-6 years ago. This is our time. We're flying out there. We're killing it. We got the Heishers, the Mercers, the Hughes, all these guys going, do it, man. I'm for it.
The Rangers have a kid line, for God's sake.
Yeah, but there's more kids in Jersey.
Fair enough.
I'm talking about Kane in particular.
I like it. I get it.
The way I see it is just there's just too much firepower on New Jersey, and while there is there's as much firepower in New York, I'm gonna give you got Dougie Hamilton on that side. You've got like the only, and you want to compare it to Adam Fox? Sure, Adam Fox is one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and Shesterkin is top 2 goalie in the NHL. Like, you're building a fantasy pool, you're building a team, you want Shesterkin on your roster. The thing is that a lot of people are looking at Shesterkin that he's going to do the same thing he did last year, and he didn't play the same way as he did last year, this year. So while I do think he gives a chance night in and night out, he's not the Shesterkin of last year either. Last year, he was one of the best seasons in goaltending history. So I'm going to give – and Vanacek, yes, had a better first half. He's learning. He's figuring out. But this is the first year he's a number 1 goalie, and I find he held his own. He did very well. And I just think the New Jersey Devils are firing on all cylinders. And at the same time, I think that New York-New Jersey rivalry is just going to take it to that Game 7. It's going to really take it to the end. And I'm just going to give – a fluke goal or something crazy is going to happen, and New Jersey's going to just win it.
All right, a big Thomas Tatar fan here. I get it. I understand.
No. Hey, easy. Actually, Thomas Tatar, not really a playoff performer, in my opinion.
All right, our next one,
Shocker.
a little boring as well. Yeah, but
That's
I
my
don't
second-
think
my second sweep.
anybody. Oh
Wait a
yeah,
minute.
that's
I didn't say sweep. I did say
You
sweep.
did.
Oh,
You did
nice.
say sweep.
I
You
didn't
did.
invent this out of my,
Yeah.
what, you know.
Yeah, you wrote sweep.
And I'm
You sure
sticking
did.
by it. Colorado,
Interesting.
come on. Look at the
I
team.
mean,
On paper, on the ice, they're much better in Seattle. Seattle is that story that, hey, congratulations, you guys made it on your second season or whatever it is. And they're just, give them an applause that they got there. It's good for the fan base. It's good for the city of Seattle. But at the end of the day, it's the Colorado Avalanche. They're cup winners. They have way too much firepower and way too much talent. And even Cale Makar, I think they're just going to control the series.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that, to be honest. I look at this series, it's like you want to kind of, okay, maybe Seattle has some pluses there. Maybe you could look at the goaltending situation and maybe they could kind of steal a game here or there. But at the end of the day, it's hard to argue against Colorado, and it's hard to argue against a team that has Rantanen, Makar, McKinnon. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think that, I mean, there's not much to say about this series, to be honest. It's probably the series I'm looking the least forward to.
The only question mark I would put on Colorado is goaltending. They're missing that. You know what I mean? Gorgiev's did a good season, had a good season, but Francouz hasn't been that great. If something were to happen to Georgiev, the other thing is the last time the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup, they did have Nazem Kadri. They had a bit more depth on the team to begin with, so it's a bit different. But against Seattle, I don't.
It's not the Colorado team that won the cup. It's not. That's not to say that they're not going to beat Seattle. I have them beating Seattle, but I have them in 6. I think this is going to be a lot harder than you guys are thinking it's going to be. Having checked the series between the two during the season, Seattle actually beat them. Out of the 3 games they played, they beat them twice. So that's not a guarantee to carry into the playoffs, of course, but just saying to say that this isn't a team that walked all over them all season long and like, oh, this is going to be just an easy peasy game. I think they're gonna play hard, and this is the first time this franchise gets to the playoffs, right? Let's keep that in mind. They're going to ride that wave high. The city's going to be jacked up. I just think that ultimately they're going to fall to Colorado, who's just a better team, but it's going to be a harder fought series than a lot of people are thinking it might be. So I got Colorado in 6.
That's why I gave them the game, because I think that first game in Seattle is going to be rocking. You know, we see that with the Seahawks, right? Seattle Seahawks. You know, the fans are legendary there, and you know, Mariners have good fans as well. It's just, I think that's why I'm going to give them a game in Seattle that they could steal, but I think ultimately Colorado will be in 5. The next series, we got some different stuff here.
This is going to probably be the most. One of the most, if not the most entertaining series in the playoffs.
If there's one series I would like to go back and change, which might be a question at the end, but if there was one that I would change, I would change my pick for this one. Not the pick entirely. I think Dallas wins this, but I think I put Dallas in 5. Yeah, I would change this to 7. I think it's going to be a lot. Having now watched some of the highlights of that game, I would say that this is going to go a little bit harder and a little bit further than I initially anticipated it being. I'm big on Dallas. I really think that this is another very good team in the West. Also, my pick of likely one of the teams that goes to the Western Conference Final.
Wow.
I really do. I'm pretty bullish on Dallas, but Minnesota is they're much better than I had.
So given that just a reminder to everybody who's going to tune in and whatever, we gave our picks before the first games of the playoffs.
I said this. Right?
I know, and I'm saying it again, but
okay.
Are you still feeling the same way about Dallas after seeing what happened to Pavelski last night on that hit?
It wasn't good. Admittedly, I saw the pictures also, which were like pretty hardcore pictures when they were shown and they were being shared on social media. Yes, I still feel like Dallas is the better team. I think Dallas will win this series. Like I said, if I can go back and change my pick, I'd make it 7. But I'll keep it as is and say that Dallas is somehow going to win the next 4 straight. So,
wow.
Yeah. Well, I have to. I put them in 5. They have to win the next 4 straight.
I know, but still, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I chose Dallas in 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I did, right? They put it up.
Yeah, I think so. Let's put it up.
You did.
Yeah. I chose Dallas in 6 only because I didn't want to discount the Minnesota Wild. I think they're gonna do well. I think they've got they're an underrated team. Marc-Andre Fleury could just have one of those games where he steals a couple at the same time. As we've seen, he could let in a couple of blunders. But he's a proven winner. But then at the same time, they do have Gustafsson as an option in case things don't work out well with Fleury in the series. But I give it to Dallas. Gustafsson played the first game too, so there you go. And when you look at the Dallas Stars, I think right now they had a bit of a cold streak when and with some injuries when Ruby Heinz went down and whatever. Now everybody's back, with the exception of Pavelski getting hurt last night. But everybody's back, and Robertson is just gonna, I think Robertson's just gonna take that next level of his game. Not in terms of a production standpoint, but he's just gonna take that next level, and that's why I'm giving the edge to the Dallas Stars. In addition, I don't think Kaprizov is 100% healthy either.
Yeah, Kaprizov is just a total game changer. I'm like the opposite of you. I think they should stay away as Fleury as much as possible. I think that's where their danger is that they panic and they go away from Gustafsson and they go to Fleury. And Fleury, as much I know he was part of your Crosby Pittsburgh Penguins teams, but I don't see him, especially at this time. Like we saw it with Vegas how he was against the Habs. During their run, that blunder,
God, that was good.
It's just I just don't have the faith in him. So to me, Dallas definitely has an edge in goal, but Minnesota has the ability to steal games here, and my gut says Minnesota could pull this off. If I'm just looking at all the series, and I'm looking at if there's going to be one team that surprises, I think Minnesota. People are sleeping on Minnesota, and like when I was growing up, it was Minnesota, Colorado in the playoffs for 3-4 years out of 6 or something. I want to see that again. Let's bring that back, and I just think that Kaprizov just total game changer. And now that he's back,
if healthy,
but
that's kind of why I bet against him as well, to Vito's point. But yeah.
Jeez. No. Okay. Fair enough. All right, let's move on. I think this one is going to be, all right. So we got pretty similar picks on this one as well.
I'm shocked that you guys think that Winnipeg's going to get 2 games. Really. I'm really, really surprised.
Well, because they still have talent on that team, and they still have Hellebuck. You can't discount that.
Show me your Jets tattoo on your heart.
No, but I'm just saying.
Listen, that Dubois, the premature Dubois love.
I'm just saying. I think that the Jets have a chance to squeeze 2 wins. The only thing is that I think there's a leadership issue there in Winnipeg. So I don't know who's gonna drive and pick it all up and say, let's go get those 2. But they have the talent and the goaltending to be able to at least get to 2 wins. And Morrissey was on fire this year, and I just think it's going to continue and so on. So
strong disagree. Go ahead, Dave. Tell me why. Tell me why before I shut you both down. Go ahead.
I just think, look, the Jets are kind of like a head-scratching team, kind of like the Flames were, kind of like they have the talent. Everything is there in place. There's holes in the roster for sure. They're not a Stanley Cup contender, I don't think, in my mind, but they're definitely a playoff team, and it shouldn't have been this hard for them to get. They actually have a losing record in the second half of the season. They've lost more games than they've won, so they're kind of just like backed into. You talk about the Islanders backing into the playoffs. The Jets kind of just backed into the playoffs. They do have Hellebuck, which is a Vezina caliber goaltender in nets who can steal games. I think Winnipeg, the arena itself, it's very hostile, so I believe that they could steal a few games there. I just think, look, you have some top heavy talent there, and they could pick up a game or 2, and I think that's what's going to happen ultimately.
But that's the thing too, though, right? It's their goaltending in Vegas, that's another thing. Right? That's the real issue. That's also a goalie that's not too proven in the playoffs, and it's like, okay, what?
It's a monster against the guy who, like you guys both said, should barely, they're not even really playoff team. Realistically, they got in there again. The Flames, they fizzled out. There was this whole back and forth there. The only reason, again, I don't have any team sweeping. So the only reason why I give the Jets a win is because of Hellebuck and because they have guys like Kyle Connors up there who can go lights out. And I believe that he's going to elevate and he's going to do it. You bring up a point about leadership and stuff, and they stripped the C away from Scheifele and all this stuff and all the weird things that have been happening there. Or Wheeler, rather, not Scheifele, right? But the firepower. You look at Vegas, by some miracle, some divine intervention, Mark Stone is healthy and back for the playoffs to circumvent that cap. And he's there with Jack Eichel and all of the guys, and their firepower that they have. It won't matter who's in net. Is my point about this. They might win games 4-3, 5-3, 5-4. I mean, I just think that they're gonna just light up Winnipeg, and even going into Winnipeg, and how much you're right. That is their fans are very passionate. It's a hostile place. You go to Vegas, that's no picnic. Those guys are jacked up too. You got to give it to them also. Their fans are wild as well. I can't see them. I can't see them getting more than one win. I really can't.
Wow. All right. Tell us how you really feel. Nick Ehlers also it looks like he's a game time decision. Might not even play.
Might not even play Nick Ehlers. I mean, come on. Come on.
All right. Let's move on to the last series here.
At least none of you picked Winnipeg. That was really. I would have fallen out of my chair. You know what? This isn't crazy. This isn't crazy.
It's not crazy. It's offense versus
crazy.
Defense. This is literally a series that's played offense versus defense.
I picked this series obviously like as soon as I knew this was going to be the matchup. It's a rematch of last year. Like everything just tells me LA. And then after I watched the game yesterday, oh man, I feel it even more. I feel it even more. Edmonton folded like in that last minute. Man, I just feel it in my bones. Dano is a beast in the playoffs. He's a different animal defensively in the playoffs. I really think that they have something here. And again, it comes down to me for goaltending. And I know it's not Mike Smith, okay? And last year, Mike Smith pulled off miracles or whatever you want to call it. Not even miracles. He was terrible, but they somehow, despite
him. You mean him blaming his teammates for that goal from center line? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, Mike Smith, forget that. They moved on. They went and they got an upgrade, right? They have Jack Campbell, who's not going to play, and Stuart Skinner. Fine. Yep. They're okay. I mean, I guess fine. But it's just LA is just – they're exciting to watch. And yesterday, there's just something about that team to me that says they're going to pull off the upset. And there's so much hype on them. Like Edmonton.
Is it an upset? You mentioned upset there. Would it really be an upset if LA wins?
It's an upset for Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
but I mean,
you have a guy who has the most points in
I understand.
You've ever seen with an insane season. You have Leon Draisaitl. It has to be an upset. It has to be. LA is way ahead of the curve. I think they're ahead of their plan, right? Like they're not supposed to be there yet. But I just love how they are. They could play. They're quick. They could shut down the rush. They could forecheck and they could do everything. I find that everything they could. It's incredible to watch them play. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to see it. And I feel bad because I really, really, really want Connor McDavid to do well. I really do. I think he has a raw deal there. And I want the league is better when their superstars win. It was better when Crosby was winning. It's better when Ovechkin finally got his cup. The league is way better when they're superstars and arguably the greatest who have ever played the game. I think Connor McDavid is going to end up being. I think that he needs to win.
Okay. Yeah, he needs to win to be in that conversation. I know it's not fair because it's a team sport and he'll have all these accolades.
I don't think he wants to be known at the end of his career as being one of the best point producers, or he wants to be the guy who was the most complete, had the trophies and had all of it, the championships. He doesn't want to just be that guy that's, when you look at his stats at the end of his career, he has, 1,800, 1,900 to 2,000 points, whatever it's going to be by the end of his career, and be like, there's no championship.
No, for sure.
At the end of the day, he'll always have that asterisk. People always say, you know what? He could have all the points in the world, but he didn't win championships. That means
and look at what happened with Crosby and Ovechkin, right? Crosby won 3 championships. Ovechkin, all he needed to do was win one, and it solidified him. Just the one completely removed any doubt, and now they don't even talk basically about them. Like he reached that status.
Yeah, even the Ovechkin haters are just showing respect now. I know maybe it's probably because if you want to add to it, they're at the end of their career, so you kind of like show respect as like what they've accomplished, both of them. But like even the Ovechkin haters are showing Ovechkin some respect after winning the cup.
It's what I find fascinating about this particular pick is more Vito's pick on the fact that while he chose Edmonton, like I chose Edmonton, he chose Edmonton in 6. I thought this is going to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest series. And that's why I went 7. Dave, everything you said, valid 100%. I just edged it over because I really thought, given what McDavid and Draisaitl did this year, and I kind of said the same thing last year. They're simply so good. They can will this team into a win. Now, LA is a really good team. I think if you look at the last half of the season, or at least the last 20, 30 games of the season, both Edmonton and LA are at the top of the list of the best teams that were in the league. And it's funny that they're playing each other. So if somehow McDavid could just do his thing and Draisaitl could just do their thing and they get past the shutdown of Danault and what they're going to be doing in LA, they can win this series. It's not going to be easy. It will go 7. I want to hear why you think Edmonton's going to win this in 6. That to me surprises me.
I'll be very honest with you. I had trouble.
Don't lie.
I had trouble making this pick. I was going back and forth because on one hand you have LA, who's got Doughty, Kopitar. They've won the Stanley Cups. They know exactly what it's like to go through the playoffs and all that. And at the same time, you have Danault, who has some playoff success as well. There are pieces in LA to help with the kids and to make up for the rookies and the youngsters that haven't had this experience. But on the other hand, you have the Edmonton Oilers, where I feel like if there's any season for them to really get to that next step, it was this season. Adding Ekholm was huge for them. It stabilized a lot of the back end. There's a lot of players there that got certain experience from the previous playoff runs. And I just think McDavid, you saw it in his game this season. He took even the way he's playing now, while we see him activating God mode from time to time and making those plays and splitting defensemen and so on. But you also see he's not causing as many turnovers as he has in the previous season. He's actually having a better all-around game than previous years. So I figured you had 3 players here between McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins that put up over 100 points, and with Ekholm stabilizing that. And at some point, I have no faith in Jack Campbell, but Stuart Skinner has held his own and has done very well. And I just figured, okay, this is the year that if they're going to do it, and I got to gamble a little bit, then I'm going to say go with the Edmonton Oilers, do it in 6 games. They're going to close it off, and LA's going to go back to the drawing board, and they're going to figure their things out. But to Dave's point, they're ahead of their plan, and they're not that far away from being competitive for many years to come.
What's crazy?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, just what's crazy to me is, I mean, this was a heartbreaking loss last night. You know what I mean? Like they had it in the books. The crowd was going nuts. Like that was a loud building, right, in Edmonton, and they let it go. And I think it's going to cost them. And what's interesting to me to see Danault there, in those dying seconds to try to tie it up, he's on the ice and he's moving the puck around. Like it's interesting how this team is coached and the faith they put in certain guys. And I think it's different than what we see elsewhere in the NHL. And I'm very excited to see how this series turn out. I mean, it could go not 7 the other way. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see that if Edmonton does not win and they go out in the first round, what Connor McDavid's statement? Yeah, what happens? What Connor McDavid's statements would be at the end of the season?
Wow.
At the end of the
He's
going to say.
He's a Canadian hockey player. He's going to be disappointing, and we
What's he
move
gonna
on.
say?
Hope for the best. Like, you know what I mean? Like
we're already starting work for next year. I mean, what's he going to say? He's not going anywhere. Nothing's going to change. I would be very shocked if it's 6. I'll be honest with you. Anything less than 6 is a complete either way. Whoever wins in less than 6 would be, I think, a big time shock. Mm-hmm. Big time. This series, you can almost guarantee a 7-game series. Almost.
Wow.
Almost. Yeah.
All right. Well, these are our picks, gentlemen.
Are we playing for a meal, guys? Are we?
Yeah, for sure. Whoever
scores the most points. Scores the most points.
Yeah. No, I know who gets the most points, but I mean, what the other 2 have to buy him a meal? I guess that works.
That works.
Yeah.
That works. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Very, you know what? Out of all the off seasons that have happened with the Habs not making the playoffs, and there have been many in the past couple of years, I think this off season is keeping my engagement level higher than any of the previous ones. These are good matchups. These are good teams. There's very little that you're looking in there and you're like, wow, what is this team doing here? Mm-hmm. Winnipeg, aside from them. But,
and Islanders.
The Islanders too kind of fluked in there, but it's just really good hockey. So it's exciting. It's good for the sport all over.
Do you guys think there's going to be an underdog story in this playoff run?
LA, baby. It's my underdog story. And I mean, what else is there really?
No.
To be
Yeah,
honest?
who's the underdogs? I'm
Yes.
Like, look, if you look like, obviously Boston, I think they're going to go through. Toronto, Tampa, none of them, even if they pass, none of them are underdogs. Really, you can't
No.
really count them as underdogs.
New York, New Jersey.
New York,
I
New
mean,
Jersey,
they're
none of
good
them are
teams.
underdogs.
They're not underdogs. Yeah. It's
Even
the
like
Islanders. If somehow
Yeah.
the Islanders make it to the end, that's like, what the hell?
the
And the
Kraken,
other way,
maybe.
the Kraken
know?
would be just like, whoa, you know. Winnipeg as well, in my opinion. I think at this point, or towards the bottom of that totem pole, that would be a big shocker. Maybe Minnesota, maybe, but the rest of them are all really good teams. Wouldn't shock me at all. It's gonna be very exciting. It's a very exciting playoffs.
And it's gonna start. Well, it started yesterday, but continues tonight with some pretty good series opening matchups. You guys keeping an eye on Laval Rocket? One last question. You guys gonna go to any games? Well, there's one game, one home game, but are you guys gonna keep an eye on them?
Yeah, I'll keep an eye. I think it was really cool that they managed to get in. They really played well that last game. I know I caught a little bit of that game. It's exciting to see that a lot of the guys that played a lot of minutes up with the big club are over there. So you have a vested sort of interest in seeing the future. So yeah, absolutely. If I don't have really anything else going on, I will give that I'll give that a peek.
I think Matt nailed it there. There was quite a few players that that played for the Habs that are playing right now and they're doing well, and I'm really excited about Trudeau. Like I'm watching him play, and he's
very good.
He's good.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, very good.
He's surprising a lot.
Trudeau's on a pairing with Schoenemann, and he's outshining Schoenemann, I would say. I mean, the AHL though is like is a different beast in the sense that like it's a step slower than the NHL, like very noticeably when you go to the games and you watch it. It's still very high quality hockey, but it's interesting to see like a guy like Ylonen. He's just a pure, supposed to be a pure sniper kind of guy. How he's used in Laval as opposed to how he's used in Montreal, it's completely different, right? And that's why, if you're watching any of these games, it's like Harvey Pinard's on the first line there. You know what I mean? Like it's different style than what they're playing here when they come up to the Habs. But it's fun nonetheless. And I know I'll be keeping an eye on it because you have some interesting names there. Emil Heineman is one that's he's playing very, very well in Laval, and obviously Kane Primo is the big one. He seems to come up big in these big game moments, and you hope that eventually it translates down the line to the NHL. Some people wouldn't hold their breath, but it's something to keep an eye on. TBD. All right, well, thank you guys. This was fun. Thank you for the picks. We'll put them here one last time. Yeah, there you go. Comment on who you think has the best picks and who's obviously going to win and who's obviously an idiot and shouldn't win at all. And there you go. Thank you for Vito and Matt and myself. This was
Get Pucked.